One. What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green
Chip.
Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford coming to you on this Tuesday, March 5th. We're going to get into some contenders and pretenders in the National Basketball Association. Discussions about the Phoenix Suns, who have their fair share of concerns going down the stretch of the season. Discussion about the Cleveland Cavaliers, the last team Danny played for, and their concerns after getting beaten at home by the New York Knicks without 4 starters. But we'll talk about that later on in the show. Let's get to some of the bigger headlines that we saw in the world of basketball. And we have to start with record-breaking performances that we saw this past weekend. LeBron James on Saturday night eclipsed 40,000 points. One more time, 40,000 points. He was already the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, but 40K is pretty darn impressive. And Caitlin Clark also set the record in men's and women's college basketball, passing Pete Maravich with their win, Iowa Hawkeyes win over the Ohio State Buckeyes on Sunday. She is now the leading scorer all time in college basketball. What was your reaction, Danny, to seeing LeBron get that 40K? Obviously, he already had the record, but
yeah,
it's just like now that he hit 40K, it's like, nobody's touching that.
I mean, that's exactly my thoughts. It's like, first of all, who else is going to break Kareem or catch Bron, and who else is going to get 40,000? And the crazy thing is, there's no sign of him slowing down. So it's like,
it's nuts.
He might play another year. He might play another year just to try to play a Bronny, which could add up to 42K. And then that's just a record. It's certain records. Most records are made to be broken, and then some that's just untouchable. And I think that's one of them. Can't give the guy enough credit. Can't give him his flowers enough. But congratulations, big dog. You're continually beating Father Time, whipping Father Time's ass the last 20 years or so. I mean, Father Time maybe here and there has gotten a jab in, but outside of that, the 12 rounds with Father Time for Bron, he's pretty much unanimously. Damn, I can't even say unanimous. Is that a unanimously?
Unanimously.
Yeah. Unanimously. I don't know why I can't say that. Yeah, 12 rounds with Bron. Bron is unanimously winning every round with Father Time.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. So yeah, congratulations to him as he continues to set a market. And Caitlin Clark. Now people have said, well, Caitlin Clark got to do it in 4 years. Pete Maravich set the record in 3 years. That is, something to definitely be considered. But listen, man. One, Caitlin Clark didn't take as many shots per game as Pete Maravich did, and even still, we got to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. It's not just the fact that she set the mark for men's and women's college basketball, but she has truly transcended the game. She has made women's college basketball fans, women's basketball fans, because of her game, her play style, the way she's just able to pull up from anywhere at any moment is truly something that we have never seen in the women's sport, and is capturing everybody's attention. On Sunday's game, Travis Scott pulled up to Iowa to watch her play. To get in the building, the cheapest seats were at least $330 for an Iowa State and Ohio State women's college basketball regular season game. She has caught the eyeballs of everybody, Danny. I love watching her play. Just your thoughts on what she has meant, not just for women's basketball, but for basketball in general.
Yeah, we've only seen what she's done on the NBA level from Steph Curry for like 2 years. So Steph's best MVP like his MVP year where he was unanimous MVP was only year he shot. I mean, he always shoots from deep, but that high of a clip, she's shooting 43% from three. Unbelievable, and from far out. So unfortunately, this is a record that I think can be caught because people in college can play up to 6 years.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So she's played her 4 years. I said Tyler Hansborough was a guy that I thought would never be caught. Then we got Mondo Baycott, who has been there for a decent amount of time and is caught up some of Tyler's records. So as tough as this is to do, to accomplish and achieve, there's some, and obviously girls also have been growing. The girls' game has been growing, and there's so many special talents out there. As you see, Juju from USC put up numbers, And now with NIL deals, they're not really inclined to leave. So like, why would I ever leave? I'm gonna stay in college as long as I can and try to collect probably bigger checks than they would in the WNBA. Until that changes, we do hope that does change. But I'm staying right on campus, and Juju could stay on campus for 4 years. Who knows? It could be 5 or 6, and end up catching that record. But yes, she's unbelievable. Got to give her credit for not only just doing what she does, but changing the game and bringing attraction toward the game. A lot of people want to watch and see and come to games and attend games. Unheard of to see people pay $330 a ticket to see a women's basketball game. So, gotta love what she's doing and putting not only Iowa on the map, but the game of basketball for girls on that side in a better space.
Yeah, for sure. You got to give her all the props, because with as more eyeballs get towards her games and more attention gets drawn towards her, her performances haven't changed, or they've even gotten better. And that's the sign of a true star. And I think she's going to be a star in the world of sports going forward. Can't wait to see her and what she does in the NCAA tournament, and what she also does in the WNBA, as well as she elected for the draft or declared for the draft last week. So many expect that should be the number 1 pick, going to the Indiana Fever, teaming up with the Leah Boston, last year's number 1 pick from South Carolina. That is going to be a lethal duo in the W. With that being said, though, Danny, as I thought about Caitlin Clark, I was like, man, why haven't I gravitated towards any player or team in college basketball this year? It has been, in my opinion, Danny, one of the weakest seasons in college basketball in the last 20 years. And yes, the college basketball game has been dwindling down because of the one and done rule, right? A lot of the great players could just play for 1 year and they're gone. So you can't really track their career and build up like a following for them or admiration for them in college basketball. And then you also have to factor in now too, with the NIL deals, guys are just transferring left and right. So even if there was a guy who wasn't NBA bound, you still wanted to follow his game or like the team that he was on. Well, he's gone next year. And as I was looking, and as I was looking at the college basketball landscape this past weekend, I was like, I don't know this guy. I'm not excited to see this guy. Oh,
how do you end up over here?
It's just college basketball is in not in a great space. And I compare that to the WNBA and women's college basketball, because what's really good, Danny, for the W is that Caitlin Clark has captured all this attention in the women's game, right? She's going to play in the NCAA tournament. Then 2-3 months later, she's going to be in the WNBA playing games. And as I look at the college basketball game, it's like, who am I excited to see come from college to the NBA? Nobody really. And obviously now, even with the G League Ignite, I don't even think there's anybody on there that like I'm excited to see. So it's just a bad spot for the men's game in terms of trying to capture attention. What are your just thoughts on where men's college basketball is right now?
Yeah, I think it's been chaos the last couple of years, and I think that's why a lot of the legendary coaches retired when they did. They got out right when it started getting a little chaotic. So they saw it coming, they knew it was happening. This NIL deal, people are getting, it's kind of like said trades and free agency in the summertime, where kids can transfer anywhere, pick up a different jersey and another check and still play. And right, I said, as I made the joke about the Caitlin Clark situation, I thought there was only like 4 years of eligibility. Maybe I could be wrong, because it seems like there's a lot more 24 and 26-year-olds playing the game now.
Well, because I think COVID had allowed a lot of players to get an additional year.
1 year. That's one time. But I still see, I don't know how they're doing it. I've seen, even on the football side, I've seen guys, he's suiting up for his 7th college season.
Graduate transfer.
Yeah, or like so I understand an injury gives you an extra year or two, but I'm seeing a lot of people stay in college as long as they can, change schools without having a week off. Before when you transferred, you had to sit out at least a year. I think they need to have some type of structure in terms for the NIL or college athletes, that when you're with a school, you have to at least do 2 years there or something like that, because some of them are just leaving year to year, going different spots just to pick up a bag and promote themselves and their brand, which is cool. Everybody should be able to make money, but now you're making it, I wouldn't say unfair, but you're just making it very chaotic and hard to follow, hard to see, hard to watch, diluting the game. It's very watered down when everybody is picking up and just going wherever they feel in that week's moment.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure because as if you're Adam Silver, you depend on the college game to give you promotion and to build the stars of the NBA. What's Zion Williamson's rookie year at Duke is the reason why we care about Zion Williamson because of what he did at Duke and how much of a star he was there. And obviously, yes, he still had to have the talent, but being in a major program, having a great year, being the lead on Sports Center, those are type of things that will help create the new NBA stars. And yes, stars could just be born within the NBA, but sometimes it's when they come from a program. Look at a guy like Trae Young and what he did at Oklahoma. That is part of the reason why we like Trae Young, because we know his story from Oklahoma and we were like admiring his game from there. So it's something that has to be figured out. I just don't like the state of the game. They're not maximizing the college basketball is not maximizing college basketball itself, and it's also not maximizing the NBA. They need to work in tandem a bit more, and I don't know if they will, but I think they do need to. When we come back from break, we will discuss contenders and pretenders in the National Basketball Association. Let's talk about the pros now. We'll be right back. We're back inside the green room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. This is a reminder for you guys. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Inside Green Room. Also follow us on Twitter at Green Room Inside. Also, if you are listening to this episode, it's available on YouTube. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, this episode is available to listen on podcasts wherever you get your podcast. Hit the like, subscribe, give us 5 stars, all the good things so we can keep giving you what we give you 2 times a week wherever you get this show. With that being said, let's get down to our contenders and pretenders in the National Basketball Association. And Danny, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. A team with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. I am convinced enough to say they are a pretender. They have the worst fourth quarter offense in the National Basketball Association, according to a report from Shams Charania from Stadium Network earlier this week. Devin Booker is going to be missing the next 7 to 10 days with an ankle injury. Bradley Beal still on a minutes restriction, and they're holding on for dear life for the number 6 spot in the Western Conference. As a matter of fact, let me double check that standings as it stands on Tuesday morning. Yes, they are holding on to the 6th spot by a half a game. The Sacramento Kings are right behind them. Dallas Mavericks are 1 game behind them. The Lakers are only 2 games behind them. And Danny, if you remember from our last episode,
their schedule is ridiculous.
Their last 10 games is nutty.
On the road for like 15 days or something like that. Yeah, they have a ridiculous last fourth of the season. It's probably the toughest one in the league. So yeah,
it is. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
According to strength of schedule, they have the toughest schedule in the league for the rest of the year. So I think for sure I would put money down that they're going to be a play-in team. Yeah. So now, and yes, they could get out of the play-in, but even then you get out of the play-in and they could be playing a Nuggets team in the first round or I just don't see it, Danny. I think they're a pretender. They don't have a great fourth quarter offense. They don't have a true point guard, and they're going to be a play-in team. That's a recipe for disaster. If I can't see you in the Western Conference Finals, you're not a contender. And I don't 100%. See this Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals.
I'm with you on that, man. I agree. But it's not entirely their fault. I feel like they haven't got enough time. They had enough time, but there's not enough time with their 3 healthy. The minutes, even though Bradley Beal's on minute restriction, he had a great game the other night. I think he had 31, played well, but then Book goes down. This big 3 obviously they have had more minutes than James, Kyrie, and KD, but still not enough reps to see what they really look like. And that's not a good sign coming into the playoffs. You're only, a month away from playoffs, basically, a month and a half away from playoffs. So for you to have your big 3 in and out, not know what it is, not have a true point guard, unfortunately, I said it's hard to see them in the Western Conference Finals. So I can't say they're in contention. But, if they keep this group together, maybe for another year, which I don't know what will happen, then they maybe will get some more rhythm, maybe pick up a point guard or two. But this year is just not their year. They said had too many injuries, too many guys out, not enough rhythm, not enough flow. And so that fourth quarter offensive, uh, I guess, scoring or lack thereof is because of those injuries, and because when those injuries are out, you don't really have guys playing their role. Some guys have to play outside their role, and Kendrick Perkins said this early other day when I was talking. Nobody really has a defined. They really don't have an identity as a group, and then individually, it's like they're letting guys kind of do whatever they want. Some guys need to know what they're supposed to do here, and they got everybody kind of playing like they normally play in their respective teams that they came from. Obviously, Grayson Allen's a great shooter. He's been playing unbelievable this year. Eric Gordon's a good shooter. I guess some nights, Eric Gordon might take on a role where he has to do more. So does Grayson Allen. So does Royce O'Neal. But because they get used to doing that, when Book comes back, they're not used to playing the role that it's supposed to be playing when they have everybody healthy. So, interesting situation for Phoenix, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen with them this summer.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The way the roster is structured, the way the CBA is structured, it's not necessarily easy for this team to be remixed. They are above the second apron, so it's very hard for them to make moves going forward, or to sign players who are significant upgrades or significant presences on their roster. And then if you look at it, you're not going to trade Devin Booker. He's the face of the franchise. You would never trade Kevin Durant. Right?
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah.
And then Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. So they're in a world of hurt. This is their team. This is their team until the NBA.
Those three guys, you got to keep Nurkic, and then hopefully try to rebuild around it. It's going to be hard to keep Grayson Allen. I don't know if he's a contract year or not, but he's going to get paid because he played unbelievable. So you're going to have to find pieces to pick up, and it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough for them to really remake this roster. And unfortunately for them, this is the roster. There's really nothing that they can do about it. The next time I could see them having a chance of really remixing this roster is when they get when the NBA signs its new media rights deal and the salary cap potentially takes a huge bump if they don't do cap smoothing, which is something that they can do. So it's just going to be a tough situation for the Phoenix Suns, and you can't wait for the CBA to change 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I mean, 2 years from now. That's just,
it'll be too late.
By that time, KD's too late. You missed out on your window. So tough sledding for Matt Ishbia's Phoenix Suns, but that's the way the cookies crumble. Let's go ahead to another team in the Western Conference. And this team, right now, let me see where they stand in the standings. They are number one in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 43 and 19 on the season, 20 and 11 away, 23 and 8 on the road. Pretty impressive any way you cut it. Their defense, spectacular. Rudy Gobert running away with Defensive Player of the Year, as this team has allowed 106.5 points per game this season. That is the top mark in the NBA. They also have obviously a guy like Ant-Man and Karl-Anthony Towns, 2 all-stars. But for some reason, Danny, there's some skepticism about the Minnesota Timberwolves because of their offense. If you watch their game this past Sunday against the Los Angeles Clippers, the shot selection, what they wanted to get to, just didn't seem ideal, which is shocking when you have a guy like Mike Conley out there, and you also have a guy who knows what he's doing in Kyle Anderson. But their late game offense causes some concerns. Is it enough of a concern for you, Danny, to call them a pretender, or you still see them as a contender?
No, it is enough concern, because I don't know what stat I read the other day, but it was since mid-December, there's 7-11 in crunch time or fourth quarter, like, I guess, execution wins or something like that. So they're pretty much on the low end of the teams when it comes to, just like Phoenix Suns. When you're not producing in fourth quarter, Phoenix's scoring problem. Minnesota, I think, is execution problem. And I think they were up 15 on the Clippers. I think they lost that game. So they were up 15 on the Clippers, lost that game. This game was in the 80s, which was pretty ugly. But that's in the fourth quarter and executing, that's where the playoffs are won. Like, you can't not be a great executing team in the fourth quarter in the playoffs and expect to win a series. So if they don't pick that up in the next month or so, where they, build some maturity and some better habits, I don't see them as being the contender we think they are, because that's the most important part of the game. And that's where games are won, especially in the playoffs. The game slows down in the fourth quarter. Teams know each other's games. There's a team that's going to do it for a longer period of time for the 48. It's hard to do it for 48 minutes, but the team that's going to do a longer part of the 48 minutes, which usually fourth quarter, is a team that comes out on top. And if you're not executing the fourth quarter, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I totally understand. I'm still a big fan of what they got going on over there.
Oh, me too.
I love
100%.
Yeah, and it just feels like they could be one of those teams that just has like that loses a series, and 4 of the 5 losses and 3 of the 4 losses that they have are like by 3 points.
Silly end of the game execution. Something happened. They turn the ball over out of bounds. They get it back. And something crazy happened at the end of the game. But I'm rooting for them. I want to see them do well. And I want to see them. But it also depends on their matchup. So if they get a good matchup, they could be there, depending on how their road is. But I said, even with that, if you're making these silly mistakes down the stretch, you can lose any team in the West doing that.
Yeah, I'm still going to have them as a contender just because of their talent and their size. But I definitely can't see they won't go any further in the Western Conference Finals the way they're kind of working out right now. So we'll keep our eye on them. Another team we're keeping our eye out on, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Impressive win Sunday against the Phoenix Suns, backed it up with a blowout loss in many ways, shapes, and forms to Los Angeles Lakers in LA the next day. You could say it was a back-to-back, or you could say the Oklahoma City Thunder have a real rebounding problem. Bottom 5 team in rebounding rate. Yusuf Nurkic grabbed 31 of them rebounds, against Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday. I know Shea is great, but honestly, Danny, I don't know what else I can count on. Shea is great, good, but Jalen Williams is going to be his first. It's going to be his. It's going to be his first. It's going to be his first playoffs. Chet Holmgren, first playoffs. Bad rebounding team. And if they end up with a bad matchup, I can see them winning a round. I'll give them the respect. They've been pretty much 1 or 2 seed all season long. I'll say they could get out of the first round as long as they don't have a bad matchup. But then to win another round, I don't know about that with their rebounding issues. Sadly enough, I'm calling them a pretender.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I think they're serious, man. This team is for real. Since All-Star break, they've kind of turned it up a notch. Even with the lack of rebounding and getting out rebounded, they're still winning games. Give up 31 rebounds to Nurkic, they're going to find a way. And I think that Jalen Williams kid is serious. He's not getting enough credit. Obviously, Shea is MVP. He should be MVP. Regular season award, them being number 1. If they end up being number 1 in the West, somehow sneaking past Minnesota, I'm giving it to Shea. He's had an incredible season. Chet, for a rookie, has played, very well and like a mature player. You would think is year 2 or 3 with him, and obviously Wemby as well. Both those rookies don't look like rookies. But so Jalen Williams and the cast, the guys around them, I think they have a pretty solid supporting cast. You with Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe coming off the bench. Gordon Hayward's there right now. I think he'll help them a little bit. Obviously, they lack some size, but I think with their young legs and obviously the game slows down in the playoffs. We do know that. But with their young legs, I think they could find a way to speed it up and keep the game going fast to where they don't have to focus on or worry about it or get beat up too much on the glass.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I understand your viewpoint. It feels weird for me to say they're not a contender, but I got to believe what I believe. All right. So, or at least say what I believe. All right. Going to the Eastern Conference now. Indiana Pacers have been not the Indiana Pacers that we saw in the first half of the season. They are currently 34-28. They are 15 games behind the Boston Celtics. Obviously, they're not catching them. They're a game and a half behind the Orlando Magic for the number 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. They have not been the same dynamic offense, Danny, that we saw. And their road record, 14-16. I don't think they're a contender. I don't think they're a contender by any means. And while I used to think, Danny, that they could get into the playoffs and with their dynamic style really catch teams off guard or make teams like just can't catch up with them. It's not it's whatever it is not working, whether it be Tyrese Halliburton not being fully healthy from the hamstring injury, whether it's Pascal Siakam maybe not being as ideal of a fit as maybe they thought. Yes, he's a great transition player, but in the half court, he's not really a floor stretcher. And now, especially because you traded away Buddy Hield, you're really not creating a lot of offense that you used to, at least in the half court set, because of all of the movement shooting that he could provide. They're taking 4 less 3-pointers per game since they traded away Buddy Hield. They're just not the same team anymore. Danny, what are your thoughts? Contender, pretender?
Pretender. Listen, I mean, I knew it was going to take them time to build that regardless. Even though as great as Tyrese Halliburton was having start off the season, I knew it would slow down a little bit. And the addition of Pascal, them trying to figure it out together is going to take some more time. He had the injury that slowed them down. I don't know where they stand in the East right now.
Number 8.
Where's their stand? They're 8 in the East, yeah. I don't see them, but I do see them as a team that could sneak a really good team like Milwaukee. They've had their number for most of the year. I think if they match up with them in a series, it's going to be a tough one. Outside of that matchup for them, that's a matchup for them they can win. Outside of that matchup, I don't see them beating anybody else, and I think they need more time. So Tyrese Halliburton, obviously unbelievable player, had a great year and just great, unbelievable start of the year. Just came out on all cylinders firing. That slowed down a little bit, and then the addition of Pascal, I think, has had them kind of, I wouldn't say playing around each other, but figuring out how to fit with each other and how to play for each other. I think both parties were kind of, less aggressive. Let me see him do his thing. Once they figure it out, just like Kyrie and Luka, I think it'll be a good situation. And they do need to add some other pieces. They do lose Buddy, but they got McDermott there. They have to find a way to involve him and include him because he's not going to do it on his own. I feel like how Buddy did, but he is a guy that can get you some shots up, some threes up. So yeah, right now they're just not in that contention conversation for me. They need a year off season together just to figure it out when it comes to those 2 top guys.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's good. It's so weird, Danny, because if you're in the management group of the Indiana Pacers, you make this trade for Pascal Siakam, and it's almost like a trade and sign. Yes, they haven't signed him yet, but we all believe you don't give up the capital that they gave up in the trade to get Pascal Siakam, and it's like the early returns don't make you feel confident about paying Pascal Siakam maybe the dollars you maybe agreed to, quote unquote. But that's the nature of the business. We'll see how they do it, how they move forward. But I would absolutely love to see a 2-7 matchup between the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks. That would be so much fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right, let's go to another team in the Eastern Conference now. And we talked about them earlier in the show. This past Sunday, the New York Knicks went into Cleveland and won. And they won without Julius Randle. They won without OG Anunoby. They won without Mitchell Robinson. They won without Jalen Brunson, who got injured on the first play of the game, the first Knicks possession of the game. It looked really bad. It looked horrible, honestly. Knicks fans were in their feelings, but it turned out to be a knee contusion. The Cavaliers, yes, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell, didn't have Karis LeVert, but somehow, some way, still lost that game. They allowed Josh Hart to get 19 rebounds. And after in one part of the game, a clinching shot from him, he hit a 3. He was grabbing on Donovan Mitchell's chain. It just felt like New York, and I know I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm a little bit biased, but this is a sentiment that also Cavalier fans have as well, because I be looking on Twitter. It just feels like this Cavaliers team, Danny, is just not built for a rugged, nitty-gritty, hard-nosed team like the Knicks or whoever. And obviously there's other teams like the Knicks who could play hard-nosed. They're just not tough enough. And you have to go back to what we heard from Jared Allen last year in the playoffs when they played against the Knicks. And he said it openly, candidly. Maybe the lights were too bright. That's just not the swag you want to have for a team as talented as the Cavaliers, who have they have good talent on paper. It just feels like there's something about them that's just not it. I can't put it into words, but they don't got it, Danny. They're a contender to me. Pretender to me.
Yeah, New York Knicks contenders, Cavaliers pretenders this year. They've gotten better, but they said they just don't have it. And Josh Hart getting 19 rebounds, the story's still the same. It's no different. That's how it was when he played them last year. Mitchell Robinson killing them on the glass. That's just them being that tough, hard-nosed team that they've been the past couple of years in New York. And I said when Cleveland matches up with the New York or the Philadelphias or the Bostons, they're going to have troubles. Now, New York, to me, is a contender because they have those pieces, when healthy, to match up with the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks. So, and the fact that they're still finding ways to win games, even when OG went down, they were winning games. When Julius Randle went down, they were winning games. Before that, when Mitchell Robinson went down, they still winning games. So with Jalen Brunson going down, even though he's not out for long, these guys are getting a smooth little break where they can come back healthy and fresh. Hopefully everybody gets back before the month of April and they get some good games together. But you have that group together, they're going to be something serious, man. I think they're in contention. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they lack a little bit of so that maybe that grit, that toughness. They did find shooting, which will help Donovan and Darius, but still, you can't let teams out-rebound you like that on the offensive glass. And can't imagine what's going to happen when Mitchell Robinson comes back. You know, if you Josh Hart getting 19 rebounds, what is Mitchell Robinson going to do?
Yeah, it's just not a good look right now for the Cavaliers. And yes, the optimism could still be high if you're looking at their record, but they're one of those teams that they're just in a prove it situation, and they haven't proved.
I mean, they play very well regular season. They're great regular season team right now. They have to prove it in the playoffs, and that's going to come with seeing what kind of heart they have and what kind of coaching steps up to the plate.
Yeah, and trust me, if those playoffs don't go well, I know free agency is a lot of discussion is gonna be about LeBron James and what is he gonna do, and maybe the Hawks trade Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, and what happens with Paul George and James Harden. The biggest story this summer might end up being Donovan Mitchell. We'll save that for another day. We'll see how it all turns out. Danny, let them know where you're at this week.
On where I'm at this week?
Yeah, are you on there? I know you on NBA Today, Sports Center, all that stuff. Yesterday,
that was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I was on NBA Today, Sports Center. I did all the shows. That's it for the week for me. So I don't have anything else really planned other than this podcast. So for the rest of the week, we're figuring it out. But later in the month of April as well, might be attending some of the college side of things. So we'll see how it pans out. Hopefully, I'll be playing basketball. But
yes,
right now, doing a little bit of media stuff, which said is a bittersweet thing at the moment because it's hard to watch the games within focus when you miss it.
When you feel like you can play the games,
when you know you can, when you know you can play the games. So, but yeah, man, continue to work out, enjoy the little one, see how it's going with the media side of things, and then figure it out from there.
I totally get that. What's the best baby moment of the past week?
I mean, I feel like every parent will tell you all the baby moments, the best baby moments are kind of all the same. And the main one is just waking up to seeing them smile. You do everything, you kill yourself, you do all that. There's no real reciprocation from the child that they can give you for the time, the money, and the effort that you put into raising them, but the smile. And the smile makes it all worth it. But also every month they learn something new, whether it's grabbing their feet, using their hands, learning to crawl, learning to sit up, and they do it all the time. And it's funny as hell to watch them go through that process of learning how to do those things with a smile and laughing at you. So it's fun, and it keeps you very much out of the real world frustrations and keeps you sane.
Yeah, I like hearing that. And obviously we hope to see you hooping, but in the meantime, between time, you guys can catch us on Thursday as well for our second podcast of the week. And you can catch me on Stadium Network, 3 p.m. Eastern daily. You can catch it on the Stadium app or wherever you can check your local listings. Until next time, we'll holla at y'all. Peace.